Welcome to Comics Bazaar, the channel of comics commentary and arcana. This video features Wolverine issue number 67, cover dated March 1993. The cover is by Mark Texeira, pencils and inks by him, and a lot of ink on this one. Looks like he had a great deal of fun noodling on this particular figure of Wolverine, running towards us, enraged. He's in a berserker fury would be our conjecture. We've the cover caption, Valley of Death, except of course it's been Loganified, Valley o' Death. It's the phrase from Psalm 23. And this is part 2 of a story that basically began with Professor X removing a memory block at Logan's request from his psyche, and now Logan thinks it's 1967. So, one last thing to note is the Mark Silvestri head, kind of small head of Wolverine there in the reduced, shrunken corner box. Let's open this one up to the first page. So this picks up from the end of the previous issue where Logan has been shot to death, as it appears to the ex-KGB border guards. They've left him for the coyotes, or whatever the equivalent of those are, in Kazakhstan, and the vultures there. And we've got Logan's first person narration because of course he's not dead, he's got his healing factor. Some mornings it just don't pay to get up. I mean, old LBJ, so Lyndon B. Johnson, is safe at home in the Great Society directing his war on poverty, and here I am, shot and left for dead in some stinking Kazakh desert, somewhere in the stinking USSR. Is it really up to guys like me to save the world from communism? So Larry Hama in a script like dipping back into the 60s, the Cold War, that face-off and dirty war between the USA and the USSR. And so we're going to get reflections on that in the course of this particular story. 23 pages of story and art, which gives plenty of space for a fantastic double-page spread like this of Logan in his underwear there taking out those hungry coyotes. Valley o' Death? I don't think so, he says aloud. And the creative team over here, Larry Hama script, Mark Texeira pencils, Mark Texeira and Jimmy Palmiotti on the inks. So Palmiotti will be doing background inks and Texeira the figures. Pat Brousseau on letters and Steve Buccellato on colours rounds out the creative team. So let's continue with the story here. And Texeira continuing himself with these horizontal panel layouts with an all black page as well. KGB border guards, cop my jeans, my boots and my hat. We saw that in the previous issue. Logan's putting it together, nothing to wear but this crazy Halloween outfit. At least it fits. Funny, something familiar about it. So Logan doesn't have memories past the 1960s and his time as a Black Ops agent for the Weapon X program, and he's hallucinating too. And one of his hallucinations is this angel figure here who tells him it's a Wolverine costume, and he replies, didn't know them little fur balls came in this color scheme. Hey, it's you again, darling. You know, you remind me of someone. And she asks, I do? Maybe it's the wings. So someone dead of his, perhaps. A former love of his who's dead, maybe. Wolverine says, yeah, the wings, right. Where are we going, darling? Terry Adams, remember? And he asks, I'm supposed to kill him, right? And she says, oh, you'll figure it out. So Terry Adams has been his obsession in the previous issue. And we need to discover in this issue whether Terry Adams is a person or something else. So let's continue. Again, you can see these horizontal page layouts. Texeira's sticking with them. At Xavier School for Gifted Youngsters, Jubilee's there making up Wolverine's room after he destroyed it in the previous issue. Professor X is recriminating himself. I should have known, he says, the death of Mariko and the real death of Silver Fox, one on top of the other. All of that egregious manipulation of his memory, the combination of the psychic trauma and neurological tampering, must have triggered a systems crash. Jubilee says, so now Wolvie thinks he's back in 1967 and on a mission to kill this Terry Adams, whoever he is. Oh, Professor, we got to find him before he... And then Colossus interrupts You remember that we found out from Wraith that Maverick was the case officer on the Terry Adams assignment. So the professor says yes. And Colossus says, we've found Maverick. Psylocke, Scott and I are going to meet him. So let's continue. And here we go. So he is in a penthouse on the Upper East Side of Manhattan. And there's this strange tableau that meets the X-Men when they arrive into the penthouse. We've got this woman in lingerie and she's got a telephone cord wrapped around her neck and she's dead. And Psylocke picks up on the violence and pain left behind in the room. So Scott asks, what's going on here? And there's no wires. It's a gravity field or telekinesis, says Colossus. It is telekinesis, says Psylocke, and she is the source, but she's quite dead. How? So over here we've got a big anchor image, so moving away from those horizontal layouts for a big anchor image of Maverick, and he's got a smoking gun there. But did he kill her, or what's going on? He says, the effect will gradually fade away and she will fall. She was a mutant, you know. Not a full-blown in-your-face mutant. All the adrenaline pumped into her system by her strangulation has amplified the effect. When she was alive, she was barely able to make a roulette ball stop on her number or make her dice fall on a natural. Still, she made quite a bundle before she got banned from the casinos. So that's her backstory, and maybe a reason why she was strangled. So Maverick says, he continues to say, I've been tracking the thing that killed her. I was too late to save her, but I think I hurt whatever it was before it got away. So did it go out the windows or out the roof, or what happened? I was too late to save her, he says. Oh no, he says that. So he reloads a magazine into his massive gun. There have been 3 other cases just like this, he says. There's something out there stalking mutants. We have a serial killer on our hands. So that's another plot line for the title to pursue. Like the use of a screen tone here for the metallic shine on Maverick's armor, the armor portion of his costume elsewhere. So somewhere in the Kazakh desert, Logan is still hallucinating that accompanying angel, and she's telling him, you've lost a lot of blood and fluids and you're not replenishing them. There's also the heat and the resultant dehydration which can cause. So Logan says, I know, I'm ready. I'm already joining the soft parade here. So we can see that here, kind of again more fragments and aspects of the 60s with Mao's Cultural Revolution in China. This could be, I don't know, maybe North Korean, hanging an image of Uncle Sam, American hippies, American soldiers in Vietnam, plodding along to the beat of one drum or the other, says Logan, atop this sand dune. It was the summer of love before the Tet offensive, and, he continues, and Israeli super Shermans were slugging it out with Syrian T-40s in the Sinai for 6 days. So the angel interrupts him. You said were. What does tense matter, darling? He asks. And she says, it matters whether you think you're actually seeing that white phosphorus round light up that T-40, or whether you perceive it as a vivid memory. So Logan falls on the ground. This is rich. I got a floating angel asking me if I think I'm seeing things or not. So he picks himself up. The vultures are circling. I know what's real. Angel baby, he says, the sand is real. That sun is real. Those bullets were real. And them circling vultures are real. And she says to him, death can be real too, you know? Even as your mutant healing factor can't generate tissue without protein. So this is the era in which Wolverine, even though he has his healing factor, he's not unkillable. He has limits. And Hama's spelling out these limits here. And this is an interesting one. Wolverine's healing factor can't generate tissue without protein. He's going to have to eat. Meanwhile, at a trading post in the Hindu Kush, we have the border guards who killed Logan as they think it and stole his hat and jeans. And one of these, some guy there says, maybe it's not a wise idea to wear a cowboy hat in the Hindu Kush these days. And someone else asks, what's that supposed to mean, old man? So he holds up a wanted poster. You don't want to be mistaken for this poor devil. The hand is offering 100 million yen for his head. So that's intriguing too. So the hand still has its is looking for vengeance on Wolverine for his various attacks on their schemes over the years. And this means that the lads who shot him and stole his hat and jeans, they're going to go back for him as they think it, his body, to get the head. So let's continue. So we're back to the horizontal panel layouts. Wolverine's on the ground. The vultures have come to tear at his flesh, but it was all a ruse. He was playing possum. And so he kills one of the vultures and starts eating it. A bit stringy, but it's protein as he crunches into it. Hey, Angel Baby, he asks, how far is it to Terry Adams now? So he's keeping himself alive for the mission. Another interesting use of screen tone there. Cutting in of white paint for the shine from the sun on Logan's back there. And then in the Kazakh desert, the lads have arrived again and are checking out the bus. And of course, Logan's not aboard. It's only one man and he hasn't collected it yet, says one of them. He's walking across the desert carrying a corpse. So they think someone's lifted the body. His companion says these aren't jackal tracks. Oh, so that's what those dogs are. Not coyotes, but jackals. These are boot prints, says the guy. Some thieving backstabber stole our body and are going to collect our reward. Unless you don't suppose it might be. What? No, impossible. I saw the bullet strike his chest. Let us just track down the body snatcher and take our prize. But they didn't pay attention to the vultures here, who now themselves are prey to the buzzing flies. And then in Salem Center, we get a nice figure drawing of Psylocke and her rear end there by Mark Texeira. I'd say you enjoyed drawing that. Maybe even used a life model for it. But in the background, the boys are getting down to business. Professor Xavier says Cyclops Maverick has stumbled onto something that affects all of us. He's found, and the professor interrupts and says, have you forgotten your obligation to your teammate Wolverine? You were supposed to find out who Terry Adams is. So Professor X, not interested in the serial killer going after mutants. He's focused on Wolverine because, of course, he feels guilty for Wolverine going a bit nuts, having removed that memory block in his psyche. And then Maverick says, I can solve the mystery. First of all, Terry Adams is a where, not a who. And then he taps into Professor X's database. Let me punch up the right map segment and zoom in on the pertinent quadrant. There you go. Teuratum. Now, that's my attempt at pronouncing this Slavic name. Teuratum, the former Soviet Space Center. A lot of us door kicker types couldn't wrap their tongues around those Slavic diphthongs, so we took to calling it Terry Adams. So that's the explanation there of the code name. Psylocke asks Soviet Space Center. That facility should have been terminated with the collapse of the communist regime, she exclaims. All those rubles that could have refurbished factories. But Professor X says their shuttle launch technology is still a viable foreign currency magnet, Elizabeth. Communication satellites still need to be orbited and serviced. And Maverick says, speaking of satellites, here's the latest spy eye in the sky sneaky peeky photographs, complete with analysis annotations. See all that mechanical pattern of light spots that circles the whole installation in the infrared shot he's talking about over here. The ground registers lighter where it was recently dug up and replaced. That pattern is the unmistakable signature of the latest Russian mechanical mine layer. So there's booby traps around the space center, and Logan's there already. He's outside the fence. What is the significance of this intelligence, Maverick asks the professor. Professor Xavier, Maverick replies, that minefield didn't exist in 1967. It wasn't in the mission prep folder. It wasn't included in the briefing notes. As far as Logan knew, there was clear sailing between the outer fence and the launch pads. He's going to get blown away. So great work here of the shuttle and the launch pad there, with the Soviet insignia on the wings of the shuttle too. And Logan there is sniffing, and the professor says back in Salem Center, or not Salem Center, but the School for Gifted Youngsters, I think you underestimate Wolverine's mutant abilities. So then we get that sniff there, the smell of fresh tilled soil, says Wolverine to himself, the sharp aroma of nitrate-based detonators, that awful dead rubber stench of second-generation plastic explosives. So he says to his accompanying angel, no way I can tiptoe through this field of bouncing betties. So he knows it's a minefield. Least ways, not unless I can learn to fly right quick. There are other ways, Logan, says the angel. And then his trackers, the guys who shot him in the previous issue, they found him. They're surprised to find him alive, but they start shooting at him with the machine gun. What does it matter? Just gun him down and he'll be quite dead again. So Logan recognizes what it is. Russian armored car. Must be those KGB border guards again. Let's turn the page. And here we have our inspiration for the cover. There he is running at them. And he... what does he do? He dives under the articulated armored car that they're driving, and so they don't know where he is. He can't just disappear unless he's underneath us, and that's where he went. So he uses adamantium claws to punch up through the floor of the vehicle, and of course they raise their weapons at him, but it's too late. Great sound effect there, that rip that runs the entire length of the vertical panel. These are really great images. This is great. Excellent work by Texeira. Let's get past the advertisements. This issue's moving along at a fair clip. Back in Salem Center, Blackbird's taking off. Who's aboard? We've got Colossus, Psylocke, Cyclops, and Iceman, and they're en route to the Kazakh desert, where the Space Center is, in order to help out Logan. And then, speaking of which, main gate of the Space Center, there's a soldier there with a guard dog, and the articulated armored vehicle comes right up to the main gate, and the security guard asks, and what's this, a local vagabond behind the wheel? Get down off that piece of state property, you filthy beggar. And the man on the vehicle responds, G or U, military intelligence. Please note the Stavka, Supreme Headquarters designation, and the level of security clearance. Any problem? No problem, sir. We're back in. Wolverine's first-person narration, credentials and attitude can get you past most anything. So he's in to the shuttle base. Even inside a launch base, the size of a small city, he continues. So he's looking around for his angel. Here I am inside Terry Adams, he says. I'm not supposed to take out this whole place, am I? You gotta take me to my target. You gotta... And then he sees her, or the spitting image of his angel. I've been looking all over for you, but she speaks Russian. The KGB is no more, she says. And Logan's confused. What's going on? You don't speak English anymore. And what happened to your scar? So she says, you want I should speaking English? I'm speaking it good. So he tells her just to get in. She asks him, your secret security service? Your security service? He says, nah, this time around, I'm military intelligence. So he thinks that she is not just his angel, but his contact in the base. So where is he? Take me to him, and let's get this show on the road. And she's confused. Him, you want me to go to, or you want to go to, oh, I see, make the next right, down the long ramp, stop, this is it. That's some door, solid steel, right? Must be expecting some fierce visitors. Let's continue. Last page. But I doubt he ever expected the likes of me. So he takes off the cloak, So tell me, who is this guy anyway? And she's baffled, don't you know? He's Epsilon Red, the Soviet super astronaut. But why shouldn't you know unless you're not military intelligence? You're the one my mother told me about. So now we can conjecture, did Logan, is the angel that he hallucinates her mother, and hence the family resemblance, and the scar she sported is because he killed her before the Terry Adams mission was scrubbed? Is that what we might conjecture from what we've read so far of this ongoing story? The woman continues, you're the one who years ago came to kill my father, but I don't think you can kill him this time either. So Epsilon Red is behind the steel doors. And of course, we also are wondering about Omega Red and whether this is an indication of a Soviet equivalent of the Weapon X program. I mean, sure, why wouldn't they have that? I mean, like, that's what Larry Hama has been playing around with for the context of the mission, the Cold War standoff and dirty war and proxy war between the USA and the USSR. So Epsilon Red is a part of that. But what does Epsilon Red look like, and what are Epsilon Red's powers? Well, we'll find out in the next issue. So a couple of letters here, just generally about what's been going on in the title. Statement of ownership there. And we can see here that the average print run of Wolverine in the previous 12 months was just over 500,000 copies. So that's an indication of how well comics were doing in the early 90s compared to the present. And there you go. I do hope that you enjoyed this review and commentary on Wolverine issue number 67. Let me know your thoughts on this one in the comment section. If you enjoyed my review and commentary, please like and share the video. It really does help the channel. And if you haven't done so already, subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for more content like this.